Outside, though perhaps morning, it is still night, but a night of 1,000 thrusting colours laid over the shaking stars. The shattering ice still sounds like a drum beat. Ulutiu is the god of the Arctic, of polar dwellers, of glaciers, of frozen seas, and of the giant kin races. He is known as the eternal sleeper, as father of the giant's kin, and as the lord in the ice. Slumbering eternal, Ulutiu has all but disappeared from the world. Only the tribes of the great glacier and of the savage frontier keep his worship alive. Before his exile, the eternal sleeper appeared as a short and dark-skinned humanoid with ice-blue skin, a round face, and deep blue eyes. Today, his sole earthly manifestation is a perfect circle of ice floating near the shoreline. His people seek out these signs of their patriarch, fishing them out of the sea and flipping them over to divine portents and cryptic messages from the cracks and the fissures on the ice's underbelly. On rare occasions, his displeasure may be made manifest in the form of rumbling earthquakes. By some accounts, the Lord in the ice was once mortal, and yet in others he was always divine. In some, he is an aspect of some other god, or else an immigrant deity from another world. Regardless, he is said to have long wandered the northern reaches of Faerun, before discovering an unusually calm and cold sea. Creating a barge of ice, he sailed off into its heart to contemplate the nature of the universe. Some 27,000 years ago, he became romantically entangled with Othea, the wife of Anam Allfather, the head of the giantish pantheon. With her, he fathered the Furbolg, the Fomorian, the Verbeeg, the Wood Giant, and the Vodkin races. Around 4,000 years ago, the All-Father learned of their affair, and in one legend, Ulutiu voluntarily exiled himself from Toril, and yet in another, he was slain by Anam, and his body was either hurled into the cold sea, or else it was set afloat upon a barge of ice. And yet in all accounts, he sunk into the cold sea and caused it to turn to ice over the next 3/4 of a century, forming the Great Glacier and the endless ice sea. His love for Othea remains eternal, and only her visage might tempt him to return to the material world. But unbeknownst to the sleeping god, Othea died not long after his disappearance, poisoned by one of her own sons. Even before his exiled slumber, the Lord of the Ice was a solitary figure, preferring contemplation and meditation to the company of others. Today he retains just enough influence to keep an eye on Toril and upon the realms of the giants. He retains a single avatar entombed within the great glacier, which he might yet stir to awaken should he sense Othea's presence or the return of Anam. But this rebirth would likely destroy the glacier, yielding catastrophic environmental impacts. With the death of Othea, Ulutiu has no other gods that he might call his friends or his allies. Instead, his only attachment is his enmity with Anam. Yet, should he wake, the Lord in the Ice would likely find himself at odds with both Umberlee the Sea Queen and Auril the Winter Maiden for their overlapping domains. The latter of which currently seeks to locate Ulutiu's resting place, to drain him of all of his power, and thus to expand her own dominion. Ulutiu has no divine realm, but rather he floats dreaming within the astral plane. Presumably he offers very little in the way of an afterlife for his followers, except perhaps to dream beside him, drifting on astral winds like stardust and becoming one with the universe. Little may be said of Ulutiu's powers, save that his sleeping form is eternally surrounded by an aura of lethal cold against which he remains immune. Legends tell of him once wielding a massive spear which, once it struck into a target, it would not dislodge until willed so by the god, at which point it would vanish and reappear in his hand. The fate, the final resting place of this weapon is unknown. Ulutiu is a demigod, and his lawful neutral alignment reflects his timeless nature. His clerics tend to adopt the peace or the nature domain, and they will turn and destroy undead. His chosen weapon is known as the Harpoon of the Cold Sea, in whose imitation his divine casters train in the spear. His holy time is the midday, when his casters will pray for spells by covering their eyes and turning their face towards the sky, with similar prayers also offered at dawn and at dusk. His followers have no collective noun, as all of the various ethnicities of the Arctic region share the name of Ulutiun, regardless of whether they worship the eternal sleeper or any other force. Only select groups uphold their namesake's religion. These scant worshippers believe that no person is superior to any other, and that all living beings deserve respect. In this way, animals are equal to humans and to other races, for they are the children of Ulutiu. And thus the faithful believe that all creatures possess a life force known as Pakulu, which returns to the eternal sleeper upon death. Chief among them are the people known as Nakulutiun, who separated from the other Arctic animist religions after they discovered the glacier of Ulutiu and thus learned of his stories through the glowing runes that covered the ice. Adopting the faith of the eternal sleeper, they travelled further and further north into the deepest tundra, seeking to isolate themselves from the corrupting influences of other cultures upon their pure belief. They are thus distrustful of outsiders, and they ban the use of magic from any source except for their god. They believe that one day Ulutiu shall return to punish all heathens and heretics and to gather his faithful to his side. Ironically, Nakalutians do not attempt to share their religion with others, and thus their belief may vary from village to village, meaning that often their distrust will extend to one another as well. One such dissident group apart from them is known as the Ice Hunter people, who broke off from the Nakalutians in the 1st century and settled far closer to civilization. Their worship occurs in a more roundabout manner, rarely praying to Ulutiu directly. Rather, they venerate animal spirits such as the great white bear, grandfather walrus, clever Umio the grey seal, and Pindle Pow Pow, the reindeer mother. Due to a scarcity of metal, both tribes favor weapons suited to their hunter lifestyles, such as short bows, daggers, spears, tridents, hooked bone pole weapons known as retiques, designed for incapacitating large prey, and yuaks, being machete-like bone blades. Among the Nakalutian tribes, worship is structured and orthodox. Priests are the heads of the social hierarchy, with the head priest known as Urit, supported by 3 high-ranking priests known as Yaurit. A month before the first day of spring, the Urit will isolate themselves in prayer and meditation, seeking to experience the dreams of Ulutiu and to do their best to interpret his will. Upon emerging, they will call a meeting known as Urit, where they shall present the Kaiurit, being the document of laws that will be enforced for the following year. These laws may well vary from village to village and will change every year. Anyone who breaks the laws of the Kaiurit will be subject to a trial by ordeal known as Ikulutik. If the accused survived, they are found to be not guilty, but if they die, it is taken as evidence of their guilt. Conversely, priests among the largely democratic Ice Hunter tribes are simply referred to as shamans, and rather than act as leaders, they serve their communities as teachers and as keepers of history. Shamans each venerate one of the animal spirits of their people, and they incorporate the animal's aspect into their divine magic, even emulating aspects of the animal's nature. They are forbidden to kill or to eat their totem animal, and likewise, they may never use materials made from their carcasses. In place of a yearly Kaiurit, the ice hunters engage in a rite known as Kaitotem, whereby, during the birthing season of the animal most favored by their tribe, they will go out and capture a newborn of that species without harming any other animals in the process. The young beast is then raised by the shamans and provided the best food and the best care available. At the end of the year, the creature is released back into the wild. If the totem spirit is pleased with the Kaitotem, it secures good luck for the following year, whilst if the creature is mistreated or dies, it brings down a year-long curse upon the people. The Ice Hunter tribes are also home to specialty priests known as Ice Guardians, who are empowered by the animal spirits they venerate. Whilst Ice Guardians are exempted from the taboos against eating or using their chosen animals' bodies, instead they are forbidden from lighting fires, and doing so will cause them to lose their powers. Ice Guardians are immune to cold damage, except from extremely powerful sources such as a white dragon's breath. They are also granted powerful Arctic magic, accessing many spells outside of their usual spheres that relate to cold, to snow, or to ice. They can cast Ice Storm, Wall of Ice, Cone of Cold, and Otiluk's Freezing Sphere once per day each. And they can also shape change into their totem animal twice every 10 days. Finally, they gain a special ability depending on their totem spirit. Those who venerate the great white bear may grow claws from their hands during combat. Devotees of Grandfather Walrus may greatly enhance their strength as they grow tusks for a short time. Worshippers of Clever Umio learn to shift back and forth between the form of a Selkie, and the favored of Pindlepalpau the reindeer mother can either grow antlers for a time as they commune with their totem, or they may channel her sure-footed hooves to travel quickly and securely across the ice. For their armaments, Ice Guardians wear leather or hide armor, and they will never carry shields. Nakalutians dwell within a region of the Great Glacier known as Nakviligak, also known as the Northern Barrens, being the harshest and the most dangerous part of the Arctic so as to be closer to their god. Whilst the ice hunters settle north of the mountains known as the Spine of the World, and all throughout the savage frontier, which extends south of the glacier, all the way down to the Sword Coast. Whilst they have no formal temples, most villages contain a shrine of unmelting ice with fetishes frozen within. Their most sacred place is the glacier of Ulutiu deep within Nakalutian land. It is a 1,000-foot-high wall of ice, inscribed with glowing runes that contain the lessons, the histories, the memories, and the secrets of the Eternal Sleeper. In my world, The threats of encroaching conquest and the echoes of ecological disaster drive the migration of many peoples across the western heartlands. Displaced tribes of Uthgat barbarians, driven from their ancestral hunting grounds, march ever north, bringing them into contact with the ice hunter tribes, whose animal totems and strong independent spirits mirror the values of said Aluskan tribes. From this crucible, a new breed of warlord emerges in the form of a man named Tumbling Rock, whose father was an Aluskan raider and whose mother was an ice hunter shaman. He was raised by the Raven tribe in the wilds of Tethia until his people were ambushed by dark elves within a mountain pass and nearly exterminated in the Battle of Bitter Waters. Finding other displaced peoples, Tumbling Rock rallied them beneath his banner, building a new system of laws that allowed tribal enemies to coexist and for his armies to swell. He leads them now, following the half-remembered stories of his childhood ever northward towards the glacier itself, burning and pillaging all settlements in his path, hoping to chance upon the magic that would allow him to resurrect the lover of Ulutiu and reunite them, as he seeks to be reunited with his own people in kind, or else to die in glorious battle and to join his ancestors as the world ends around him. Deep within dreams, the will of Ulutiu is whispered upon astral winds. All people are equal in right and in worth, though his earthly clerics may lead as they are sent to teach his wisdom to the world. Upon the pain of godly wrath, all must extend the same respect to the animals of the world, for although they cannot express themselves, all creatures share the same feelings, the same morals, and the same values. Finally, and solely enforced among the Nakalutians, you should drive out those who practice magic that draws its power from any source other than Ulutiu, the sleeper eternal.